King of Podcasts here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So glad to have you back. If you would love to help out this channel and see more content like I'm putting out as much as I can during this pandemic and even after the pandemic, by all means, please check out my special Amazon link to go to Amazon and buy your stuff through kingofamazon.com. That's kingofamazon.com. There's also on the screen a Cash App listing at King of All Podcasts, or send a donation through PayPal at King of Podcasts. So while many of you are starting to see businesses starting to reopen and the economy starting to pick itself back up, I wanted to look down the line and seeing what was going to be happening to some of the attractions that we enjoy the most. Two places I wanted to point out was Las Vegas and Disney World, and basically theme parks in general, and some of the changes we might be looking forward to. I thought it was interesting. I thought all of you might feel the same way. First off, let's go to Las Vegas. So Las Vegas right now, according to the Las Vegas Sun, reopening Las Vegas too soon risks more than a new wave of an infection. So here's what we got. Without talking about the story that's being talked about with the current curve and the way things are in terms of infections and the death toll in the state of Nevada, we'll talk about what they're actually talking about when it comes to the opening. Nevada's infection rate is among the lowest in the country at just under 4,400 as we record this on as of Friday, which is partly why Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman is asking for the governor to reopen the state and get the casinos back open and running again. Brian Labus, who's with the UNLV School of Public Health, he says that the reason why Nevada and Las Vegas so far have been spared from lots of fatalities, unlike other parts of the country, is because they had more time to prepare than hot spots like Seattle and New York City. You're telling me that the people that run the casinos, they saw this was coming and they didn't think, well, we need to be prepared for this because we're going to see a lockdown now. We know how much money's not going to be coming in. You're telling me they didn't think about that? Labus said, quote, "We had the benefit of looking at what those cities did and learning from them. The reason we've been treating ourselves the same way like New York or Seattle or any other places is because we could very easily become those cities and we didn't want that to happen." Well, obviously, you have a lot of Asian people that come to visit Vegas on a regular basis. That's a good chunk of their tourism. So you don't know who could have come from Wuhan or Hubei province, for all we know, or could have come from Italy or Europe or other places prior to the shutting down. Moving down to the story, state leaders also need to consider how the rest of the country is containing the virus when formulating a plan to reopen, particularly with Las Vegas relying so heavily on tourism, which before the pandemic would increase the population by 20 to 25% daily with people from out of state. Labus says we can't think of Nevada, quote, as an isolated state. People are going to cross back and forth one place to another, and our industry is dependent on other people coming from those other states. So even if we can do an amazing job of stopping every case of disease here, if people are coming to Nevada from a place that hasn't done that, that presents a risk to us. So we started seeing some of the changes that are being made so far. And Wall Street Journal tells us all about that. Masks, temperature checks, 6 feet between guests, some slot machines turned off, and fewer people gathered around table games are some of the possible conditions when casinos reopen. One of the things we started seeing so far is that in the spaces where there are table games, they are now installing what are being called Rona guards. So plexiglass is being put in between players and partitioning off the dealer. So the other ideas they're saying is that they might also then separate slot machines of which ones will be open and available 6 feet apart. So you'll get a handful of slot machines as opposed to every machine being open. When to revive tourism, Nevada's largest industry, generating half the state's economic output, is an unresolved point of contention as states across the U.S. debate a return to public life. But they're definitely talking about masks, temperature checks, lots more sanitation and hygienic procedures and measurements are being put in now into place. And the one thing that's going to happen with Vegas is there is such a gambling fever anyway. You're going to ask yourself, resort fees are going to probably get wiped out. You're going to probably have to see lots of discounts and deals, and especially flights coming into town. Everything except the casino experience, as long as they were able to get you to a table or to a slot machine and make you spend money. They're not going to make money on the shows. They're not going to make money on the restaurants so much. They're not going to make so much money on, attractions that are outside of the scope. It's going to be the people that are the direct out casino crowd, sportsbook crowd that absolutely positively will gamble. The gambleholics will come to Vegas. I don't think they'll even worry about the fact they have partitions between on the tables. I don't know how poker tables are going to do that, but they'll have to figure a way out. I guess they're going to have the poker tables with no more than, 4 people around it and keep them completely spread out. I guess that's what happens, along with masks. That's how you have to consider it. So there's a lot there in place. We have to see what else they're able to do. And then you have Disney World, which I'm sure Disneyland will follow the same way. But Disney World would be the more likely to open up. Now, we're reading stories. Axios says it will take till next year to reopen. I don't know. Orlando's another hot spot that's going to want to reopen right away because, much like Nevada, you also have the fact that Florida has not suffered a major death toll and have had cases, but really, when you look at the cases they've had, 100,000 compared to 21.48 million people in the state, which is where I live. That's why I know. So they're going to start opening things up. There's obviously the expiration of the stay-at-home measure is going to be expiring on April 30th in Florida. I don't know what's going to happen with Nevada. They're still kind of on the fence. But going back to Orlando's theme parks and attractions, adjustments will be made in many ways, according to Orlando Sentinel, perhaps in every way. Visitors should brace themselves for alterations. For example, in how to buy admission tickets, for spread out seating arrangements aboard park rides and in restaurants, and in just how we wait. In short, expect less touching. Attractions operators have not yet shared details on their plans. First, there's drawing the line. Virtual queues in which guests have appointed ride times instead of winding through a tedious line won't work in current configurations. There's not enough room to put people elsewhere in the park. So Brian Morrow, owner of B. Morrow Productions, an Orlando-based design studio that works on projects for theme parks, resorts, and museums. However, he says in the near future, the parks, he believes, will not be fully operating at capacity, nor will there be a demand for full capacity. Virtual queues may just be fine because you don't have as many people to deal with, and larger operators are already set to do that. They also talk about current big space queues, such as Fast and Furious, Supercharged at Universal Studios, could be reconfigured to create staggered waiting rooms for virtual queuing. Then there's Race Through New York, starring Jimmy Fallon, where folks can spread out over a wide multi-room space. Could be another model they could use. But the chief concern will be ensuring visitors that feel safe, and that may mean the removal of newly discomforting elements. So you might not have 3D attractions and reusable glasses. Going 2D has been an industry trend anyway. So things like 3D glasses are an easy grab where people are going to go, I'd rather not. We know they've been clean. They've been clean all along. But you know what? I don't have to put it on my face. I'm ready to go. Actually, that's a good point that can be said. Will 3D glasses be taken out altogether? You know, something that you have to put on to do that. Could they get rid of 3D glasses at the theaters? That's a good question. This is where I think you got to think about where glass and partitions are going to be used in different ways. The teller window kind of feel is going to be much more common in a lot of different things we're going to see after the pandemic. And I think one of the things they could do as well, I don't know how they're going to do it, but the way you see 3D, you might not need glasses. They're going to probably try to find a way to make that happen where the theater is going to be configured to do 3D. Maybe you take the IMAX theater in your theater or one of the other ones that are out there and you create something that will create the 3D image, or 3D doesn't come back anymore because if there's unless you sell glasses that people can actually have of their own instead of giving them out. Maybe you just don't give them out anymore. You make them available and you have one universal style that everybody can use for whatever they want to use. I mean, that's the only thing I could think you could do. Or you give them out and they're completely disposable and you never give them back. Maybe that's what you have to do is dispose them all the time, but that's got to be costly. Then there's no-touch ticketing. Fewer admission sales at the attractions themselves. Curtis Parks, who is managing partner at Icon Attractions, that is a developer based in Maryland, they say that in the industry, 75% of tickets are purchased on property, and that there's going to be a large push to move everything online, have reservation-based systems at the parks. There's a lot of human content in the current system, having employees side by side to take payments. But I think that's going to probably change. What's going to be most noticeable is you're going to have this no-touch environment. That's really going to reduce capacity in the parks as well. And taking folks' temperatures before they enter in will probably come to fruition as well. And also, what will be coming in will be the new bag check. They're always going to have delays getting to the properties because these larger operators are going to do temperature screenings not only on their employees, but also the guests coming into the facility as well. And then there are the meals. Dining may have a different vibe, at least in the short term. According to the Disney food blog writer, A.J. Wolf, he says, I think the decision makers, quote, are considering servers wearing masks and undergoing health screenings daily, upping the overall cleaning protocol and using disposable menus, all while reducing capacity to 50% in dining rooms to encourage social distancing. Actually, that's another point that's got to be said too. The menus are going to probably not be laminate, and they're probably not going to be there. They're going to have them disposable. Paper menus that you just like, there you go, and that's it. Or you could do the thing where, like it used to be back in the day, where you had placemats that had the menu on it. I don't know if that becomes something they normally do, but that couldn't be a bad idea if they decided to do that. As a matter of fact, buffet-type restaurants could be switched to a la carte or family style for a while, but reservations could be easier to get if vacationing families are slow to return to Walt Disney World. Now, character dining has already returned to Shanghai Disneyland in China, which started a phased reopening in early March with social distancing and health screenings. And Disney was already modifying character meet and greet experiences for safety before the parks closed. That could also continue with face characters. Finally, cleanliness and communication about that cleanliness will be important for hoteliers going forward. That's according to Jan Freitag, Senior VP of Lodging Insights for STR, a company that tracks analytics regarding the global hospitality industry. Cleaning obviously will get much more intensified, and it's going to be interesting to see how hotels communicate something that happened that the guests can see. Is it little flyers everywhere that says this was cleaned 2 hours ago? Or is it when you check in, you got an email that says every hard surfaces will be cleaned every 2 hours? Now, one of the things I saw was, if you ever seen in a bathroom where the toilet's been cleaned and they put a little wrapping bow around it that says this has been sanitized for your protection, the same thing could be put on the room. I saw that in Vegas rooms, they're starting to put strips on the doors that say that this room has been sanitized. So there's a strip that is almost like you have to pull the tape off, and it says sanitize for your protection, and then you go into the room. Keyless entry and remote check options could also gain popularity, and hotels may also consider leaving rooms empty for a couple of days after checkout and the ensuing cleaning. Larger resorts may introduce elevator operators to reduce the number of human fingers pressing the buttons, he says. And convention hotels may have clients that question the value and safety of gathering. A group could expand beyond its usual ballroom setting to meet social distancing guidelines, or it could choose to spread it out further inside or outside the resort. So overall, we're going to see some significant changes to how things are. I think one of the things we're seeing right now when it comes to overall retail, and that's the thing I want to do next on an upcoming video, is talk about the retail changes that are going to be coming up. But just looking at what the attractions are doing tells a lot. You're going to definitely feel the effect of the pandemic after it's all said and done. And I think some of these changes that they're talking about are going to be permanent, and that's okay. I think if they're going to do temperature checks, I've seen where they have a device that you can just put it up to your forehead and check your temperature automatic. So you don't necessarily have to take, a temperature gauge that you have to put underneath your tongue to check your temperature, or other ways to do that. I don't think they're going to do a full triage or anything like that to check, your blood pressure, your heart rate, things like that. They're not going to go through all that. But if they want to go through a temperature check, that's not a bad thing. And I guess if that's something they can do in the long run and it offers more jobs, that's probably a good thing in the long run. And I think everybody can appreciate if things are going to be made more safely. So if that's the case, the only thing that will suck is social distancing, but it's a sacrifice we make for 6 months or so, and then maybe hopefully things will get back to something better. We can only hope.